with the Downtown Action Plan and the work that the Office of Planning did with the Downtown DC Public Realm Plan. I think it's very important also to recognize Maria, recognize Jaron Leona, the teams at the bids that really put a lot of effort in to convene people, the Federal City Council, to make sure that they were getting insights necessary to put this plan in place. I think it's very important. So let's give them all a round of applause, please. This is precisely the type of collaboration that we need to make sure we're moving things forward in the District of Columbia, both our public sector stakeholders, our private sector stakeholders, communities around the arts and others, to make sure that we have a really solid plan that's a part of the comeback that you've heard the mayor talk about a lot over the last year or so. As we continue to see what our neighbors across the river in the Commonwealth are up to with a little bit of business there, we also know that too many other stakeholders, including retail, hospitality, cannot wait to see what's going to happen right here in our downtown. We have our own need to identify key aspects of timing, commitments, and fiscal decisions on how we move ourselves forward here. And really, this is what these plans are all about. It's my hope that we take the work that has gone into the action plan, the work that's gone into the public realm plan, and make it actionable. I know that's what our next steps are going to be as part of an economic development approach that helps us attract new businesses, retain our current businesses, increase our residential population, as you heard the mayor talk about a moment ago, while also focusing on a downtown that isn't just for some people, not just for some tourists, not just for some organization. It really is a downtown that welcomes everyone. This means enhancing our public safety, addressing human service needs to the endemic challenges of our downtown core, and supporting the workers and businesses impacted by the slowdown that we've seen as of late. This may well be a cyclical challenge. I know it's hard to believe that in this moment because we're seeing some really tough challenges, but I believe that this will be a cyclical challenge, and the next few years are crucial as we must take advantage of the opportunities that come from this shift to better coordinate how we can improve our business climate and make immediate, tangible improvements to our public safety infrastructure. The district cannot look backwards. In my conversations with the mayor, I know she is looking forwards. And I know that the conversations I've had with business stakeholders, residents around District of Columbia, are looking to a brighter future in our city, and we must embrace the smart city development that our future demands. This will mean asking hard questions and making prudent decisions about our investments in economic development, housing, and our public transportation landscape. Rebuilding the economy of February 2020 isn't an option. The future is now, and today represents an important step forward. Again, I want to thank the mayor, her team, for convening everybody today. I want to thank the bids for all the work that went into the Downtown Action Plan, and I look forward to partnering arm in arm as we take steps in a really, really strong movement forward in District of Columbia, where you will see that revitalization that we all know, that we all want, and that we all deserve. Thank you. And I'm going to be working in tandem with this next person coming to the mic, and that's Deputy Mayor Nina Albert.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember McDuffie. And thank you all for coming out this morning. We are incredibly excited that these plans are now public and that folks will have a chance to absorb, react, and start working on solutions to bring more residents, more businesses, and more employees back downtown. I want to thank our business community, the district government, the employees, our residents, and all the stakeholders who made the Downtown Action Plan and the Downtown Public Realm Plan possible. You've provided your big ideas. You've provided grounded ideas in the realities of today. And this is what's going to make these two plans possible and real. So we're going to talk a lot about the action plan today, and I'm going to turn it over very shortly here to both Jaron and Leona. But I do want to take a moment to thank the various people who have worked on this. Not only the downtown DC bid, staff and leaders of the Golden Triangle bid, but also DEMPED staff and many others have, and OP staff have spent time on this. And so while we talk about the importance of downtown, DC being the nation's capital, DC being the capital of the free world, we are also a community of colleagues and friends. And so today, before I begin or finish my remarks, I want to say happy birthday to Anita Cozart. And embarrass her a little bit before we get back to business. So, downtown is currently home to 320,000 employees, to 25,000 residents, and to 16 million visitors each year. That's a tremendous base of opportunity and people who have a deep relationship with downtown. But the current status is not our future status. The comeback plan identifies up to 15,000 new residents for a total of 40,000 residents downtown. What does that mean for the downtown, how it looks, feels, and acts? It means that now we have to have community spaces, civic spaces, integrated into downtown, and more neighborhood serving retail. It just shifts fundamentally how we think about what the downtown delivers. So as we think about that, there are different strategies that both the Downtown Action Plan and the Public Realm Plan start to employ. They start to say, how do we take advantage of all those visitors going to the mall and who might just hop back on the metro and go somewhere else? How do we draw them up into our downtown neighborhoods? And that's what the Public Realm Plan does. It starts to identify key investments that we need to make that connection between the federal space and the federal presence and pull them into who we are, because there is only one DC, and it includes neighborhoods and communities of people. So on our economy, we've talked a long time, for many years in the district, about diversifying our economy. We now need to double down on that. But we will do it by building on the base that is incredibly strong, and that is the presence of the federal government, the excellence of our higher education institutions, and the leadership of our medical institutions nationwide. So that's what the action plan does. It starts to knit these concepts together, as well as identify the importance to things such as transportation and public space. So I also want to point out sort of how the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force fits into all of this. The Downtown Action Plan and the Downtown Public Realm Plan are the framework for the entirety of downtown. From Gallery Place, only 1.2 miles to Foggy Bottom, which, by the way, if you think about that, is totally a walkable distance. So it's pretty interesting to think as a planner how you break up those spaces so that people get engaged for an incredibly short walk where they could have a myriad of experiences. But the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force is really focusing on a place-based, neighborhood-based solution for one node of downtown, which is our entertainment epicenter. So anyway, then our work will have to continue to the Golden Triangle and to what I'm calling Penn West, west of the White House, over to Foggy Bottom. It will take all of us, government, businesses, residents, working together to achieve our collective vision for downtown. And so I want to thank everybody who's going to participate, or who has participated, and who's going to be participating in the future. What role will you play in downtown DC's transformation? With that, it is my honor to turn this over to Jaron, Leona, and Director Cozart to share more about the two plans.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor Bowser, Councilmember McDuffie, and Deputy Mayor Albert for that great introduction and for everything that you've done to support this effort and to get us here to this point today. And also I want to thank all of you for being here today and all of the great people that we have talked to along the way. We have been so thrilled at the support that we have received from people and in the interest from everybody in a very vibrant future for the downtown. So thank you very much. As the mayor said a few seconds ago, the two bids kicked off this action plan in May. And we did so together with our partners at the Federal City Council and our consultants, Andrew Trueblood and RC Elko. And thank you very much for all of your hard work. Today, Jaron and I are going to outline the highlights of the Downtown Action Plan. And after our presentation, you will be able to download the entire highlights report, which is 42 pages on our website, reimaginedowntowndc.com. Again, it's reimaginedowntowndc.com. Now, that 42-page report is going to be supplemented by the final report, which will be much more comprehensive. But we feel that these highlights are a very good indicator. And I just want to point that out to you because it shows the wealth of work that we have done to get to this point.
All right. It is such a pleasure again, and thank you so much, Leona. We're going to cover a lot of ground here. It's not lost on me that we're in this beautiful theater space here at the Woolly Mammoth. I just want to thank again the entire team here who's just been tremendous about creating a bright and vibrant cultural destination right here in the heart of downtown DC. This is part of what makes this area so great, and I just want to echo the thanks that Leona shared to each and every one of you who are in this room. As I'm looking around, and this is not an act, and we're in a theater, but I mean this with all sincerity, this is such an exciting and just incredible day for myself and Leona, and just for everyone who's been working on this effort. We are all in this room. We're all interested in this topic. We're all here in this moment because we care deeply about our city and because we love our downtown. And so it's really encouraging to be in this room and in this space with all of you. And as we share some of these highlights, we hope that you'll hear back some of the things that you've shared with us. This has been an extensive process where Leona and I haven't done a ton of talking. We've done a lot of listening and have really tried to hear what it is that, as a collective, we want to see in our downtown to propel it to the next iteration and to ensure its success in the future. So I wanted to just quickly touch on just some of the context of how this plan is designed to, the role it's designed to play and how it fits with some of the other efforts that were described perfectly by Deputy Mayor Nina Albert. But I just want to share a little bit more here. Obviously, the mayor laid out the comeback plan just about a year ago, which offers a 5-year economic development strategy for how we make DC as a whole a place for successful businesses. We make sure that there are opportunity-rich neighborhoods and that there are thriving people throughout our great city. What we're doing with this downtown action plan is taking that and the portion of it that was focused on downtown's recovery, inclusive of the 15,000 new residents in downtown, we were really looking at how do we make that happen? What are the investments? What are the policies? What are the actions that are going to help make sure that the mayor's vision in that comeback plan comes to fruition starting right here in downtown? We're incredibly excited to be doing this work in partnership with the Office of Planning, who has been leading the Downtown Public Realm study. Some of you have gotten the copies of the plan that are sitting there. The graphics are amazing. There's a lot of great visuals in that, and you'll hear a lot from the birthday girl when it's her turn shortly soon after. I will refrain from singing happy birthday to you, Director Kozar. Certainly appreciate your work. But so much great stuff in that plan as well, and they're meant to really dovetail and be in concert with one another. Also, as Deputy Mayor Albert mentioned, we have the work of the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force that is underway. I'm incredibly grateful to the mayor, to Deputy Mayor Albert, to all the members of the city, our co-chairs for that work, Jody McLean and Debbie Ratner, who have been working incredibly hard to make sure that we're focused on the future of the Chinatown community. And that, too, ties in greatly with the work that we're going to discuss today. So, again, lots of highlights that we will talk you through today. There will be a lot more information that you can see in the full report at reimaginedowntowndc.com. I'll turn it back to you, Leona.
Okay. Thank you, Jaron. So finally to the study, right? So here is the process that we used. We started with very robust engagement, and this slide outlines the engagement. We did a lot more engagement than we originally felt that we were going to be doing, but we just had so much enthusiasm from people that we felt the need to include, to continue with it a little bit longer. After the engagement, we conducted intensive research and analysis, and you will see some of the studies on the Reimagine website, and then some of the studies will be referenced in greater detail in the complete report when that is released. And then we took what we learned from the engagement and from the research and analysis, and we created a vision and recommendation. The vision on this next slide is pretty much what you have heard from the mayor and from the deputy mayor. It is to redefine the central business district to be a resilient, right, and adaptable mixed use downtown that is welcoming and alluring for everybody. And you'll see elements of that peppered throughout, and they are explained in much greater detail in the slide. The recommendations that we're going to outline for you today are big ideas that are going to generate new demand for people to be downtown, not because they have to be for work, but because they want to be for a whole variety of reasons. And Deputy Mayor talked a little bit about creating demand and being strategic. Now, we know that the district's budget is tight, but we carefully selected investments that we felt would return yield in tax revenue and would spur private sector development. So the idea is that the public sector invests to catalyze, it generates tax revenue, and then outside investment comes in as well. Now I'd like to turn it over to Jaron, who's going to talk about the 5 foundational elements in the plan before we go to the 5 place-based nodes.
Absolutely. So in order to meet the vision that Leona just described, making this a downtown that everybody wants to be in because they want to and not because they have to, we heard from you all that there are many things that need to happen, that need to be put in place. These are the 5 foundational elements that we believe reflect every aspect of what we need to be focused on. And so these are the elements that we intend to really anchor at the root of this action plan. I'm going to briefly touch on each of them and share with you a sampling of some of the actions that we believe are most important. We really are thinking about them as a do now and a do next context, and so I'll share a little bit about that. Again, these will be shared in detail in the full report, but I want to go over some of the highlights with you right now. We could jump right into the first one. I don't believe there was a single session, stakeholder meeting, engagement session, survey response that came in that did not mention public safety. And so we believe that right out the gate, the very first foundational element is that we must make sure that we have a safe downtown, and that our comeback plan is anchored in public safety. People have to feel safe in downtown in order for any of these efforts to move forward. And I should acknowledge we've had some great things that have been happening in the interim. I am incredibly appreciative of the leadership from Mayor Bowser, Chief Smith, who has been working tirelessly to try to help bring just a new and fresh perspective to public safety in our downtown core. We just had the opening of the Chinatown Commercial Safety Hub at 7th and 8th Street, which we're really excited about, but we know that more needs to happen. And so some of the things that we're calling for from an action standpoint, we believe that the city should invest in expanding the Safe Commercial Corridor grant program to ensure that we have effective strategies that are underway to enhance that safety in all portions of our downtown core. We also believe that it's critical that we enhance deployment strategies, making sure that our public safety officials can get out and respond to things quickly and be able to get about doing their business in an efficient manner and making sure the structures are in place to support that effort. We also believe that there should be some things that we look at that help incentivize and continue to bring more officers as part of the MPD cadre. And so part of that includes expanding assistance programs and things that can help to support our officers and incentivize them in working for the city. Enhancing that visibility. And one thing that we heard extensively that we think there is a lot of potential in, we should have a world-class, top-notch mental health first responder program that helps to make sure that we're able to immediately address some of the mental health challenges and needs from some of our individuals in downtown. Let's move to the next element here. So we also know that it's really important that DC is a thriving place where people want to locate and do business. We want to make this the most business-friendly downtown in the entire world. And we believe that to make that happen, we have to streamline and simplify some existing regulations. In the report, we have an extensive section that talks about some of the policy changes that can happen. And for those who are concerned about budget years, some of these have no monetary cost. But these are policy changes that we can make that help clear the deck and make it faster and more efficient for folks to locate and do business here in the city. We also believe it's incredibly important that we have the right staff and resources at play in the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development's office and just in the city as a whole to make sure that we have folks who are actively seeking to attract big business, small business, new business, minority-owned business, all of the businesses that we need in downtown. We need people who are actively doing that day in, day out, and that it's funded in the full capacity in which it's needed. We have a great Vitality Fund program that's been introduced. This plan suggests an investment to expand that even more so we can reach more businesses and retain more of our businesses who are here now. And we believe it's important that we focus attention on having a dedicated technology entity that is investing in early stage companies and entrepreneurs who want to do more business here in the city, leveraging some of the work of the Penn West Innovation and Technology District. Now, as we think about the residential goals, I know we've talked about the 15,000 new residents here in downtown. We absolutely believe that that is doable and possible, and we know having an active, vibrant residential base in downtown is key to the comeback that we want to see. Some of the actions that we believe should happen now, we want to make sure that we continue efforts to implement the Housing and Downtown Tax Abatement Program that was discussed, as well as looking at potential ways to, as it's playing out in real time, immediately and effectively address any hiccups, challenges, and roadblocks that might present itself, and consider expanding that. We also believe it's important as we think about processes in terms of how business gets done and how building processes take place, streamlining the construction and building permit processes by making sure that we have really tight, substantive groups that are able to effectively and quickly work through the permitting process to clear the deck on future development. We also believe it's important to examine our building codes, as well as define some goals for our household services and social infrastructure. You'll find in the plan that we talk quite a bit about some of the elements that are needed to support residential infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're strategically investing in making those things happen. I also want to quickly talk about transportation. One of the things that came up extensively as we went through the feedback sessions, in addition to the concerns about public safety, were thoughts and concerns about our transportation network. Obviously, there has been a looming concern about Metro. One of the things that we believe has to happen is that we do continue to fund and think about sustainable and supportive operational funding for WMATA so that we have a great and well-run transit system and transit network here in the city. But one of the things that also came up is that we have to start thinking about all these great assets that we have with respect to transportation. I'm thinking about that as an asset and not something that does not work well together. Throughout the year, and I'll just say it because I feel like I'm amongst friends here, we heard many polarizing thoughts, from there should be no bike lanes to we should have all bike lanes, right? No cars to some cars. And so getting to a point of being able to crystallize all of that into actions and to thinking about what that means for our future, what we believe needs to happen, let's take a moment to look at a comprehensive design network for all of our streets that takes into account what types of people are in our buildings, the development that we're planning in terms of residents. Let's make sure that we have a comprehensive strategy that ensures that all modes of transportation are able to effectively be maximized, because quite frankly, we have great access here in our downtown. It is already quite walkable. We have great transit. We need to be amplifying that and not thinking of ways to make it more difficult for people to move in and around downtown. Additionally, we talked a lot about parking. Many people talked about us thinking about parking, and I know at times that can be also a bit controversial because there are goals to see, some would like to see more car-free thinking in terms of our downtown, and I think there's some value and merit to that. We heard that quite a bit, but we also have to think about those who are using car, those who are coming from around the region and are using cars to get here into downtown. We want to make sure that we're thinking about our parking system and not necessarily having new parking spaces, but better managing the parking spaces that we do have, both off-street and private parking garages. So we talk about some strategic investments and how we can create a program that supports that parking infrastructure. Let's go ahead to the next piece here, Leona. Last foundational element, and I'm going to turn it back to Leona after this, making it happen. So we talked a lot about all of these things that need to be invested in, these policies that need to be shifted, these changes that need to be made. But we also thought it was critical, how do we ensure that that work actually happens? So this is not meant to be a plan that will get posted on a website and we all move on and we never talk about it again. We have to ensure that there are people who are every day waking up, thinking about these elements, and helping to make sure that it actually comes to fruition. And so we talked a lot about what that looks like. And there's different models that have been proposed, but we know there needs to be a dedicated team for implementation focused on the Downtown Action Plan, and perhaps an oversight committee that helps to monitor implementation and ensure that we are holding ourselves accountable to getting this work done. We also know that it's going to be incredibly important for some of the catalytic development sites that are currently existed and potentially stalled, that we have an effective way of getting resources there and making sure that we're helping to move those projects forward. Leona, I'll turn it back to you.
All All right, thank you, Darren. Before we go to the 5 nodes, one thing I do want to point out about the parking is that we determined that it's not as much a supply problem as it is a demand problem, and that we feel that we can raise attendance during the off hours like weekends and evenings in the downtown if we use the parking supply that we have in the buildings a lot more smartly, and if we were better able to leverage those private sector parking garages through a common platform that people could use to look and say, oh yeah, there is parking at XYZ building right now, and it costs whatever it is. So it would be, the pricing would be demand based. That's a big dream, but we think it's really important to helping to support thriving downtown during hours that aren't regular work hours. Next, we're going to talk about 5 key nodes that are geographic nodes that we've identified for investments in generally parks, the public realm, and new uses that will yield different kinds of return. And I will just very quickly mention them, and then we want to dwell for a second or two on each one. Yes, go ahead.
So I just want to make sure folks understand the framing of this report. So I talked about those 5 foundational elements.
Yeah.
These 5 key neighborhood nodes, these are areas that through our engagement process and strategy, we heard loud and clear that these are areas that we believe there can be really a catalyst for future development and future investment if we focus in on these 5 neighborhoods. And so this came up quite a bit. We had a number of intensive sessions talking about block by block types of things that can happen, changes for certain buildings, looking in real time at what ownership structures look like so that we can make some really solid recommendations for investment here.
Okay, and those 5 are, number 1, the Penn West Equity, Innovation, and University District. Number 2, Downtown West. Number 3, the Historic Green Triangle. 4, Penn Quarter, Chinatown, right? No surprise. And number 5 is Downtown East. I'm going to do the first 2.5, and then Jaron will join me in the last couple. So first, Penn West. Pennsylvania Avenue west of the White House is a very rich, fertile ground. It offers a unique combination of international NGOs like the World Bank, the IMF, the IFC, the EU. It offers an R1 university and, of course, proximity to the seat of government. And we feel that this node can attract tech companies from around the world, and thus creating a demand for some of the extra office space and creating a global marketplace, right? New sources of demand, as the deputy mayor talked about. Well, now new sources of demand are going to be not only the district, the region, the country, but also the world. We really want to lean into that. We envision a robust ecosystem of startups, mature tech companies, top-tier universities, and of course, very importantly, workforce development programs. So in April, just in a few months, we will launch a global soft landing program for international startups. Make it easier for those startups to get to the United States to begin some of their research, and we've been working with a number of partners on that. From our extensive conversations that we've been having with tech companies, we're recommending that the next step is a large innovation hub where you have accelerators, you have startups, you have space for engagement, you have workforce development, you have a number of different parts of the ecosystem co-located in one building that can then continue to grow and grow and grow. And as many of you know, we're seeing more and more universities locate in the Golden Triangle. We've had 7 universities locate in Golden Triangle since 2017. And the last one, of course, is most recently USC purchasing the building at 1771 N Street. Our goal is to add even more universities in the Golden Triangle to feed this ecosystem and to replace office space that is now excess supply, and to replace it with not only universities but also university adjacent uses. You know, things like dorms, lab space, convening space, different places for university startups. Next slide, and the next node is Downtown West. And for those of you who are very familiar with the Golden Triangle boundaries, you will know that almost 100% of our buildings are office buildings. So we are quite a way from a mixed-use, resilient Golden Triangle at the moment. And so we need to take some supply out of the market, but we also need to kind of make it interesting and alluring in other day parts. So we are recommending a new entertainment and cultural district from 15th Street to 19th Street. And you'll get the relevance of 15th Street in a second when we talk about the next node, up to DuPont Circle. And again, this will take some of the excess supply out of the market, but more importantly, it's going to invite residents from the existing surrounding neighborhoods and from the tourists from down at the White House and the mall. This district, those of you who are familiar with the redevelopment going on at National Geographic, this district would leverage that. We would lean into it. And if you don't know about that redevelopment project, it's huge and it's amazing. But it is right here. There's a rendering on the screen, and they have their own website for National Geographic Base Camp. We are also recommending an entertainment or cultural anchor in Downtown West, and we kind of feel that it should be close to the National Geographic redevelopment to allow and make it convenient for tourists in particular to chain their trips and to kind of create a whole day out of the experience. This next one is, we're both very proud of this one, is the historic Green Triangle. And as I believe it was the mayor said earlier in this presentation, we have beautiful public spaces in the District of Columbia, and we have beautiful parks. And our parks, for the most part, are being underutilized. They could be used so much more robustly. And so we see great opportunity in linking Lafayette Square, where the tourist is, to Farragut Square, which is the gateway to part of the western part of the downtown, and to McPherson Square, right, which is also another gateway. And Deputy Mayor talked about bringing tourists further into neighborhoods, and that is one of the big strategies around this. Yeah, yeah, go for it.
And I'll just add to this, and Leona, you said so much here. When I think about just, when you look at that overview, go back to that slide, just that overview of the park and the historic Green Triangle, we have these beautiful park spaces, but many people don't think about how they connect and how close they are to one another. And so we believe really investing in the infrastructure to make this a really pedestrian-friendly, attractive experience can do quite well for attracting tourism and bringing more people to this area. So they don't just come to the White House and then go on about their day, but really stay and linger in downtown, support our restaurants, and enjoy the public space in a different kind of way. I also just want to call out the tremendous asset of Black Lives Matter Plaza and making sure that we bring focus and energy back there, thinking about public art that can be added to help enhance that experience. We talked a lot about and heard from folks about strategic wayfinding, signage, just ways to really connect the relevance of the cultural experience that you can gain from this area that currently just feels like a diamond in the rough. So we're really excited about the investment here. I'll move to the Penn Quarter neighborhood next, Penn Quarter Chinatown. So some of y'all know this, my team knows this. I got my start as a teacher, and so anytime I'm standing in front of a room, I feel weird not doing something more participatory, so I'm going to do it now. I know the press is here, and I don't really care, so we're going to do it anyway. How many people, by show of hands, have ever traversed down 7th Street in Chinatown, somewhere between, say, Mass Ave down to Pennsylvania Ave to get somewhere? Okay, every single hand is up in this room. Great, both my hands are up. Now, let's ask you this question. How many people have traversed down 8th Street between that same juncture? Few hands. Few hands. So fewer hands went up when I asked about the 8th Street question. Reason I'm saying that, one of the things that we heard tremendously throughout this process is that people feel that we have to think about some of our other streets in Penn Quarter and Chinatown and how we can better position and leverage them. We have tremendous cultural assets right along the 8th Street corridor, beginning really with the Convention Center, the Carnegie Library directly down to the National Portrait Gallery. And if you were to continue down that path on the other side of the gallery, you go all the way to the U.S. Navy War Memorial. So you have this really interesting street that currently doesn't do a lot. There's not a lot of retail there. It's kind of sleepy. There's a lot of garage entrances and some other things. We've talked in detail about how we can use this, again, diamond in the rough to truly make it shine, expand the sidewalks, bring more life, activity, and business along this important corridor to really celebrate the cultural diversity and the many different experiences that are available here in Penn Quarter. You can take the next slide. Some of the actions that we think are also important here, and I would be remiss not to mention one of the major pieces, which is thinking about the future of the Capital One Arena. I'm incredibly grateful to the mayor and to the 13 members of the D.C. Council who have made sure that we have a great $500 million offer on the table to retain our sports teams, and we believe that should remain a viable option. And if we have a future without the sports teams, we believe that we must invest in ensuring that we have a bright future for that site. And so I'm very encouraged by the work that's happening now and is currently underway. We also believe that there's a tremendous opportunity to rethink, rebrand, and amplify the branding and marketing of that community as a specific arts and cultural district. There is so much culture in Chinatown. There's already a lot of vibrant art opportunities. We have to make sure that we leverage that, brand that, promote that, and really think about that entirely differently. Additionally, I mentioned the 8th Street focus, and so that's certainly something we believe we can do right away. When you hear from the Office of Planning, they'll talk about how they use that as a part of their focus for the downtown public realm study as well. And then finally, we know we have a real issue along that corridor in terms of vacant retail fronts. We want to think about some immediate ways that we can activate that retail corridor, perhaps through some pop-ups, but really thinking through the right strategy to bring the right retail mix in this really important part of downtown. We can move next into my final space, which is Downtown East. This is also a part of downtown that sometimes doesn't get as much love and attention as we think it should. So when you think about Downtown East, this is east of Penn Quarter, Chinatown, taking you all the way about to where Union Station is, right? So really thinking about that area of town that really is right in the view and shadow of the U.S. Capitol building. We currently have 2 universities that have a significant footprint there. Georgetown Law, as well as Georgetown University proper, is looking to expand its footprint there. And we just had the opening of the Johns Hopkins University campus on Penn Ave at 655 Pennsylvania Avenue. We believe there's a tremendous opportunity to brand and to rethink this area as a site for local universities. And so we want to make sure that there is investment in the public realm infrastructure and just really all of the things that help make that a vibrant space for students. If we can take the last slide here, we talked about specifically naming this a university district. We talked about implementing some streetscape plans and doing some immediate work to develop those in this first fiscal year, as well as some improvements to the experience people will feel from Union Station into this important corridor.
All right, so now we'll zoom out to the broader economic development strategy here a little bit. What we feel is that committing to these investments in the Downtown Action Plan is going to be a signal to investors, right, that the district is building a thriving future and thus will spur investment from additional sources. And we have summarized the recommended investments in this by category in this table. Of course, this is on the website. This is in the report, so you can look at it a little more closely there. But basically, the Downtown Action Plan is recommending $39 million in investments in FY25. This $39 million is part of a total $401 million in investments over the next 5 years. As Jaron mentioned, through some of those foundational nodes, what we really want to do is spend this first year not only implementing, but also setting the stage for policy changes and other things that are no cost. I should add that this $400 million investment package over the next 5 years is in addition to other things that need to happen. And you've heard several references here to the Housing and Downtown Abatement Program, and that is just so absolutely critical and so important and so exciting. Metro funding, clearly, because we need to support access to our downtown and to all of our neighborhoods, in fact. And, of course, the work of the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force. So we now have a downtown action plan. and we need to do this. Annual tax revenues from the downtown have fallen by $240 million since COVID, right? Let me just kind of repeat that for you. Annual tax revenues every year are $240 million less from the downtown than they were before COVID. And that is just so important to the broader goals of the District of Columbia. It's not just a downtown thing. It's a DC thing. Following full implementation of this plan, downtown stands to generate $487 million more annually in tax revenues than it would without intervention, okay? So once again, let me just say this. $400 million of investment over the next 5 years or so, generating $487 million in annual revenue. Okay? Thank you. Why not? And our two bids are so committed to working with the mayor, with the council, with the private sector, and with all of you and anybody else in really making sure that we build a stronger, resilient, mixed-use downtown that is welcoming and alluring to everybody.
Leona, thank you so much. Leona, thank you so much for that. I think Leona really made the case there in that investment strategy slide. I encourage you, take a look at this report, the highlight document that will be posted on our website. We break down where these investments can lie, but Leona's right. We're looking at a real challenge. That $240 million decline is real, and there's a tremendous analysis that's been done by RCLCO to show that it will only get worse if we don't intervene. So these are interventions that will turn this all around. We are incredibly grateful to, again, every single person who's played a role, whether you offered your feedback, had a suggestion, what you may have thought was a crazy idea was not a crazy idea. Thank you for your engagement throughout this process. We are so encouraged by the work of the city and look forward to continued engagement in helping to make this happen. So again, thank you for hearing us out today on this Downtown Action Plan. I now want to introduce my colleague at the DC Office of Planning, Director Anita Cozart, who is going to share some more about the Downtown Public Realm Plan. So I will turn it to Director Cozart.
Good morning, everyone. Really glad to be here and glad to follow Leona and Jaron with that inspiring plan. Happy to talk about our focus in on the public realm plan. Before I do that, I really want to acknowledge our wonderful team at OP with a special shout out to our urban design team. Also very grateful for our consultants who supported us on this and our district agency partners who were wonderful thought partners as it relates to this. So as we get started, I really want you to think about one of your favorite experiences you've had in downtown DC. And as you think about that, were you outside? Were you in a public space? Were you in one of our iconic public spaces that you can only find in the District of Columbia? Were you on Pennsylvania Avenue for a barbecue battle and listening to music? Did you spend time at Black Lives Matter Plaza? Were you at the Lunar New Year parade? All of these experiences are uniquely DC, and they are outside, they're in our streets, our sidewalks, our plazas, and our parks. And whether you're a DC resident, or you work in the city, or you are a visitor from a state or another country, you've made memories in these iconic places. And it's also a place where we uplift our history and culture as a city. And it's a chance for us to knit together our residences, our people who are living downtown, our office buildings with our museums and our theaters and our restaurants, hotels, and more. So our focus for this work was really thinking about this one-of-a-kind public spaces that you can only find in the district. How do we leverage those spaces to attract people of all ages to downtown, entice people to stay through the day and into the evening? celebrate our diverse histories and cultures, and uplift district businesses and entrepreneurs. And so, big task, but it's consistent with our values, so we're going to go there. So we came up with, through engaging residents and other stakeholders through many months, to really think about where do we want to focus, what are the kinds of projects that we can start today that will catalyze things in the future, right? So we were inspired by input we received from residents. We are also inspired looking at other cities around the world facing similar things that we're facing in our downtown. And we focused in, again, on projects that we can move forward quickly to improve people's experience in downtown DC, set the stage for longer-term upgrades to our streets, our sidewalks, and our plazas. And so this map here shows the location of those 4 projects along with the focus locations of the Downtown Action Plan that Leona and Jaron just shared with you. And so I'm going to walk through each of the 4 catalytic projects now. First, we have our Gallery Place Festival Plaza. In many ways, this builds upon survey results that we saw. When we asked people this question about what do you value most? What experiences have you enjoyed most in downtown? They talked about the holiday market, and they talked about Franklin Park, and they talked about the MLK Library. And so really understanding that we have these strengths, we want to build upon those, right? And so imagine being able to attend a festival or a market or outdoor concert each weekend, just steps from the Chinatown Arch, right? We're thinking about what are the ways that we can improve that public space right around Capital One Arena and the Portrait Gallery. Opportunities to take F Street and G Street between 7th and 9th. And having those festivals and markets happen regularly so that people can experience those. And even exploring ways that kind of fun seating along the Portrait Gallery steps can create outdoor theaters and opportunities for people to connect. Thinking about 8th Street again, where we can kind of calm the traffic on the street and think about creating playscapes, interactive displays, and the like. And this is where we have this wonderful opportunity to partner with theaters like Woolly Mammoth and others, and the Convention Center, partner with the MLK Library, and really think about outdoor exhibits, events, pop-up activities that really activate that public realm. So that's our Gallery Place Festival Plaza vision. Moving west, we have Connecticut Avenue Capitol Promenade. And this is one where you can imagine kind of dining on that lower portion of Connecticut Avenue with music in the air and the White House as a backdrop. Again, only in DC, only in DC. So thinking about how we can kind of unify a section of Connecticut Avenue right there in that historic green triangle with quality seating and dining and vending. You're just right in between Farragut Square and Lafayette Square. This is a chance to amplify the existing nightlife and dining that's in the Golden Triangle with around-the-clock activity that spills out onto the street and the sidewalk. And then we can also think about farther up Connecticut Avenue, places around the National Geographic that Leona mentioned, and even farther up to provide places to linger with shaded seating and places to gather. We also have I Street Greenway, and as the Deputy Mayor mentioned, really thinking about I Street all the way from Chinatown to Foggy Bottom as this very walkable place. And we can amp up that if we think about it as a greenway, right? A place to discover nature and calm as you travel along by foot, by bus, by car. There's also an opportunity for festive and functional installations that are made from natural elements and have lush landscaping that really connects us to our environment. And why did we think about this for I Street? Because as you take that route, every 2 blocks there is a place, whether it's a pocket park or a large park, every 2 blocks that you can stop. And so it makes it such a wonderful place to be able to explore nature in the heart of downtown. We also envision working with tenants and businesses to think about how you might green your lobby areas to really contribute to that feeling of a lush greenway. And then lastly, the fourth catalytic project is really thinking about Vermont Avenue. And this is where we really connect to the fact that we're bringing 15,000 new residents downtown. And you have an opportunity to create a real cozy neighborhood feel, even in the midst of the busyness of downtown. This nearby Vermont Avenue is where you find many of those projects that are going on in terms of moving from office to residential. And we imagine, even though that's not a silver bullet, it's really important to have community serving amenities for these new residents. Expanded sidewalks, seating, and play features for children. There's also an opportunity to work with small local businesses to really cater to residents through incubator programs and incubator spaces. Also, opportunities always for public art and welcoming storefront designs to really create that inclusive atmosphere. So what I really want to leave you with is this opportunity again for one-of-a-kind public spaces that are so vital and important as we think about what's next for downtown, the sectors that we want to continue to attract, the businesses that we want to retain, the entertainment hub and hubs that we want to have. This is about really strengthening that magnetic pull of downtown DC's public spaces and really inviting people of all backgrounds to play and dine and shop and enjoy the one-of-a-kind entertainment and the distinct culture of our city. And so we're really excited and we're grateful for folks who've been with us through this work and the ones who will stick with us and join us now that we have some of these kind of inspiring images. We hope that they'll inspire you. And please tell a friend and share with us as we go forward and implement this. And you can check this out at planning.dc.gov. I also want to let you know if you really, really want to spend some time and nerd out with us on this, we're going to be having some coffee chats on the Monday free coffee mornings next Monday. And so come join us. Thank you. And now I want to turn it back to Maria to give us some greetings.
This is really exciting. Thank you for everybody who has been here. Thank you to Mayor Bowser, Deputy Mayor Albert, Councilmember McDuffie, Director Kozar, happy birthday, Jaron, Leona, Federal City Council, everyone who is doing the important work. This is the important work of envisioning what a thriving downtown DC of the future can look like. Thank you for your vision and tenacity to make these dreams a reality. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
We now return to our previously scheduled program, already in progress.